What's up, y'all? It's your boy Lightning. Y'all like my shirt? Yeah, I know y'all do. Well, I know it's been a while since I showed up. It has been quite a minute, and the first thing I want to say is I'm sorry for not being as consistent as I really wanted to be. I've completely broken my schedule, but some stuff happened. I can't tell y'all. It's top secret. So anyway, what I wanted to what I wanted to talk about was just a little just maybe another review and a little special surprise at the end because of something interesting that happened to me a few days ago. Well, to be entirely honest, the first thing I want to talk about is, well, the first, let's see what today's anime will be. Give me a minute, y'all. I'm gonna I'm gonna give me a minute, y'all. I'm gonna go through the thousands of anime I have seen in this head of mine. Um, oh yes, I see. So I was given an idea by I was given an idea by a friend of mine who told me to review Black Butler. Well, to be honest, I haven't seen Black Butler in so long that I may not give too much of a good review on it, but at the same time, I don't feel like sitting here and rewatching an entire anime for the sake of just sitting there and talking about it. So to me, to me, Black Butler is nothing but an anime with a whole hell of a lot of meaning to it. Like the basic plot of the basic plot of Black Butler. A rich kid, a rich kid in Jack the Ripper Century London. I'm just gonna call it Jack the Ripper Century because he literally shows up. But a little man, a rich kid, a rich kid in London who is the son of, who is the son of a, who is the son of a who is the son of a rich family that runs a candy company. He desires to get revenge for the people who killed his parents. The people killed Those same people killed his parents right in front of his face and locked him in a cage and made him watch the whole thing. And he ended up watching the whole thing. In order to get revenge on those in order to get revenge on those people, he signs a contract with a demon he signs a contract with a demon whose terms were, in exchange for getting your revenge, I will eat your soul. So that's kind of what happened. That's kind of what happened at that point, and we see this happening. We see this happening. We can tell it's already happened because it happens in the first episode. And in his quest to get his revenge, in his quest to get his revenge, the like in the quest to get his revenge, the boy, whose name we all know to be CL, gains a lot of servants. Those same servants were handpicked by him and his butler to help him get his revenge. And we and we and the strange thing about the strange thing about the first season, man, the strange thing about the first season of Black Butler was the fact that it had absolutely no plot whatsoever. There was no, sorry, y'all. There was no plot going on at all. There was no direction you could see the story going in. It was just a bunch of shows that it was just a bunch of episodes with plots that seemed like they were specifically created to show off that seems like they were specifically created to show off the main character's butler, whose name we all know to be Sebastian. They were specifically created for that reason, and I mean, they seem to be specifically created for that reason and no other. They feature the actual main character of the show. They feature the actual main character of the show as loosely as possible, is all I can say. Like, CL shows up a lot, but what I mean by they feature him is the fact that he does nothing. He does nothing the entire season. He does nothing for nearly the entire season. Nothing happens. It's just a compilation of episodes created to show off how badass Sebastian is. And that is kind of what I hate about it. And like with me, and like now that I realize it is kind of what I hate about it. But with me, it is impossible for me to truly hate anything. It is impossible for me to truly hate anything, especially not in anime, since the one thing I look for in an anime is whether or not it's interesting. And to be entirely honest, sitting there watching Sebastian do all those badass things that I saw him do made it interesting, made it fun to watch, made it entertaining. It made it entertaining, and each and every single episode, I was waiting to see what this man was going to do next, was going to get ordered to do next at that. And and I just told you guys the plot, man. I just told you guys the plot of the show, what was supposed to be the plot of the show, and that's where season 1 fails. There is almost nothing pertaining to the actual plot of the show in season 1. Like I said, it's just specifically created to show off Sebastian. It is also specifically, it is just specifically created to show off Sebastian and let and introduce all the characters. And now, because we all have seen Black Butler and we know what it's about, and we all know that I'm simply going through the motions of talking about it here because we all know what season 1 is. We move on to season 2, the actual part of the show where plot mattered. Sorry, y'all. So in the first episode, or what I believe to be the first episode of the second season, we see Sebastian. We see Sebastian of the first episode of the second season. We see Sebastian showing up at some random person's house, and sneaking his way into the basement in order to grab CL, who like in order to grab CL, who somehow managed to fit inside of a suitcase. Who somehow managed to fit inside of a suitcase. And this is all fine and dandy because we get the suspense of what's going on. We get the suspense of what's going on. Who could this man be? Like, because we get the suspense of what's going on. Who could this man be? What could he be looking for? Because did nobody know that was Sebastian in the first episode? Did nobody know that was Sebastian in the first episode? Especially not me. I swear to you, I was lost until I figured out what he was there for. I swear I swear to you, I was lost until I figured out what he was there for. He was there to pick up CL, which he did after almost getting caught so many times. he managed to take him onto a boat and give him back his ring, which we then found out contained his soul. That ring contained his soul, which was given back to him upon placing the ring on his finger. And then once once CL once CL was brought back was brought once CL was resurrected, once CL was resurrected, we end up getting to like the middle of the show, I believe, the middle of the episode, I believe. And before I actually go into the middle of the first episode, because I'm not about to do an episodic review here, we go into the like we are in the first episode we are also introduced like in the first few episodes we are also introduced to the next character of season 2, who turns out to be another rich little boy another rich little boy whose name is Alois Trancy. Whose name is Alois Trancy. Now, Alois Trancy, as we go through the episode, we learn Alois Trancy, as we go through the episodes of the second season, we learn to have been raped. We learn to have been raped and abused by a fat. We learn to have been raped and abused by a fat rich guy along with a bunch of male orphans. Along with a bunch of male orphans. And then, and to me, he's also a bit insane. To me, Alois Trancy is a bit insane. The way he acts in the first few episodes of the second season makes me think this man deserves to be in a mental hospital. And he still kind of does. We go into another episode where he meets his uncle, who turns out to be Jack the Ripper from the first season, who's also friends with CL. But I'm not about to get too much farther into that either. And now that I've told you the backstory of Alois Trancy, we move into the actual story part of the second season. The plot of the first season is actually touched on in the second season. The plot of the first season was that CL was getting revenge on the people who killed his family. That happens in the second season. He no, actually no. He never manages that. He never manages to get his revenge, and that's another reason. A thing y'all may not know about me, I hate anime that never finish. I hate anime with cliffhanger endings that never get anywhere. My main example being Seraph of the End with their stupid cliffhanger ending where nothing actually happened. So after after never managing to get revenge on the people who killed his family, we end up going into the conflict of the we end up going into like the conflict of the series where he meets with Alois Trancy and they end up having dealings with each other. At which point, at which point, we see that Alois is also. We see that Alois is also transcendental to the plot. I'm gonna say transcendental. I mean integral to the plot. But after a few episodes, after a few episodes, and a few fights. Cause I'm gonna come up with a word to describe the trance people get in. Like, there's a certain point in time when you forget. I mean, like, there's a certain point in time when you forget to look at an anime for. I mean, like, when you forget to look at an anime for it being an anime, and you start looking at the anime for entertainment reasons only. excuse me, that word is phantasmagoria. Like that word is phantasmagoria. The fights in Black Butler and the badass scenes and fight moves that Claude and Sebastian get into provide what I call phantasmagoria, which is provide and activate what I call phantasmagoria, which is points in an anime full of action, fast animation, and fighting and stuff is going on around everywhere in order to keep the viewer interested in what's going on. That is phantasmagoria. So after a lot of episodes involving a lot of that and a lot of intellectual business dealings that I didn't understand until I watched it at least 2 times, we get into the fact that we get into the real actual plot of the story. We get into the real actual plot of the story where we learn where we go further into Alois Trancy's background and how he earned that emblem on his tongue, whatever that junk signifies. That no, that signifies his deal with a demon, just like Ciel's with deal with Sebastian. However, the difference between like the difference between Ciel's deal and Trancy's deal Trancy is the fact that Trancy has a higher goal. He wants his entire town destroyed because of how horrible all the people in it are. Him and his brother, him and his brother, the like him and his brother, either his brother or his adopted brother, because one of them was an orphan. Because one of them was an orphan. They had begun traveling together. They had lived in this village together. Then the village went to shit, and his brother died. I mean, the village went to crap, and his brother died. Then he made a deal. Then he made a deal with a demon. And then he made a deal with the demon. The demon the demon brought the demon, I believe, brought his brother back to life and caused his brother to complete his wish. But tell me if I'm getting any of this wrong here, because I know that by the end of this video there are going to be some Black Butler fans trying to kill me for getting it wrong. But at this point, I believed that there was some sort of a connection between the demon and Alois Trancy, because the demon liked Alois for treating her like a person. The demon liked Alois, and then they ended up with a mutual understanding. And so after his wish was granted, she began to live inside. I think she began to live inside his body or something. And then at the end, through some strange turn of events, Alois took over. And then through some strange turn of events, Alois took over. And then through some strange turn of events, Alois took over. Alois took over Ciel's body and began tearing his body apart. Ciel took back his body, automatically told Sebastian to eat his soul, and automatically told Sebastian to eat his soul, at which point he never could. Because because Ciel and Alois were inside of each other's minds. They were talking and junk. And then in some big huge phantasmagoria scene, and then at the end in some big huge phantasmagoria scene, Ciel falls into the water after dying, ends up becoming a vampire. Like Ciel falls into the water after dying, ends up becoming a demon, and Sebastian can never take his soul in the first place because he has none. At that point. And even after this huge explanation between, and even after this huge explanation between, even after this huge explanation between season 1 and season 2, here comes the actual review. Season 1, I'm not even going to get into season 1 because season 1 is an incoherent mess of plotless, is an incoherent mess of plotless, meaningless, is an incoherent mess of plotless, meaningless bullcrap. And so what happened with what happened with season 2 was the fact that it tried to make it more interesting. Season 2 tried to make try, season 2 tried to make it more interesting. Season 2 tried to make it more interesting with a whole lot of phantasmagoria and and a more interesting plot. Too interesting, like too interesting and hard washed. I'm gonna say hard washed because they both had terrible past. Like two interesting and two interesting characters with terrible pasts kind of go against each other in this big huge fight between the two of them that kind of involve their conflicting dreams. And this is interesting on account of the fact that on account of the Death Note, like on account of like they have like the Death Note effect. Two conflicting two conflicting forces fighting each other, two conflicting forces fighting each other for like fighting each other in a chess-like manner. This becomes the most interesting thing you will ever see in anime. Like any of you will ever see in anime if you like this sort of thing. And so that is what Black Butler is. And so that is kind of what Black Butler is. Uh, a sort of detective style show that is meant to keep you interested through the most amazing scenes and the most interesting plot line you will ever see, and the most seemingly interesting plot line you will ever see. And with that, my review is cut short because I have to tell you guys this before like I have to tell you guys this before my time. I have to tell you guys this before I go over my time in this video. Um like before I go over the amount of time I want to use for this video. Um I'm actually in the process of coming up with an anime. Like believe it or not, I actually thought of this while listening to music. It's like I'm coming up with an idea for an anime that I will soon pitch to a company once I find out how to do that. But the anime itself is called White Noise. The main point of White Noise is like, and I only noticed this, but I only noticed this after I made it. I only noticed this after I made it, but there's an anime that is quite similar to what I'm thinking of. But White Noise is basically an anime about music. It's an anime about musical terrorism rather. So I'm gonna give you guys the lowdown on White Noise before I end this video. White Noise is about White Noise is about so there's a new president. There's a new president. The president has quite strange ideas about the fact that the president has quite strange ideas, and he thinks that people who listen to certain types of music that people who listen to certain types of music act certain ways, and it should be and whether or not we should hang out, like people who listen to certain types of music act certain ways, and the people who listen to those certain types of music should be completely should be and the people who listen to those certain types of music and and the people who listen to those certain types of music should be ousted or completely or like and we should avoid basically we should avoid certain types of people who listen to certain types of music. Basically those people, but the government, like I'm gonna move on, but the government was like, no, I'm not gonna no, we're not gonna let you do that because that is inhumane and stupid. We cannot let you we cannot let you judge people solely we cannot let you judge people and prosecute them solely based on what type of music they listen to. So after the president, so a few years after the president, so like 10 years after the president was entirely shut down by the government due to his, like, due to his words in his campaign, due to his words as president, despite them being entirely shut down by the government, people have started to view people who listen to certain types of music a certain way, and they have started to ostracize and outcast those people, and the I mean, and they have started to outcast and avoid those people. Those meant to ostracize and avoid those people. Those people have become outcasts at this point. And inside those 10 years, a radio terrorism group, keep in mind I said radio terrorism group, have popped up. They call themselves Radio White Noise. The goal of Radio White Noise is to unite people. The goal of Radio White Noise is to invite everyone into is to unite rather everyone in their love of music, So, and like their terroristic attacks are done are done not surprisingly through the radio. Are done not surprisingly through the radio, but in the form of forcing people to listen to music they don't like. It has gotten so bad. It has gotten so bad outside to the point where people can only listen to music they like in their own homes. To the point where people can only listen to music they like in their own homes. And like there are also there are also public acts of terrorism that Radio White Noise commits. That Radio White Noise commits, but we're gonna get into that later. Now we move into the actual start of the plot. So the main character. So basically, what I've got for the plot. So far, what I've got for the plot. The main, besides what I told y'all, the main character, he ends up getting involved in Radio White Noise. He ends up getting involved in and becoming the leader of Radio White Noise after getting involved after getting caught up in one of their public acts of terrorism. And I probably should give you guys some background on the main character before I get into that part. So what happened with the background on the main character is the fact that what happened with the background on the main character is the fact that due to his he loves all types of music. He is he has no aversion to anyone's type of music because he's grown up around all types of music thanks to his family. He's grown up around all types of music, therefore he likes all types of music, and he does not dare hide his love of music from people. And that is why Radio White Noise chooses him, because he loves all music. They choose him to be the voice of Radio White Noise because of who he is as a person and the music that he loves. With all that information currently taking place, with all that information currently processing itself in your head, I'm going to leave you to think about it. Put down in the comments, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Put down in the comments what you guys think of this idea for an anime, whether or not you guys like it. whether or not you guys like it. I'm going to I'm gonna be signing off, and I'm gonna see y'all. I'm gonna be signing off, and I'm gonna see y'all tomorrow.